Welcome to the Mastering QuickBooks series. My name is Crystalline Shelton, and I will be your financial coach for today. For those of you who do not know me, let me put up a quick bio. I am a licensed CPA and a certified advanced QuickBooks Pro advisor. I've been coaching small businesses on how to manage their bookkeeping for more than 14 years. I have a series of books called Mastering QuickBooks that have all been Amazon bestsellers. We have recently released the sixth edition, which is Mastering QuickBooks 2025. It is available for purchase now on Amazon.com. As part of this edition, for the very first time, I am recording a series of how-to videos like this one that coincide with online bonus chapters. So to access that online content, which includes these videos, templates, and other resources, you can go ahead and purchase a copy of my book and you will gain access to all of that information. All right, so today's topic is reconciling uploaded bank and credit card transactions. So we are going to first cover an overview of the banking center in QuickBooks Online. Then I'm going to show you how to match transactions. I'll also show you how to edit those banking transactions before you record them to your books. I'm going to show you how to use bank rules to save time. And then I am going to wrap up with an overview of how to reconcile your bank and credit card accounts. So let's go ahead and dive into QuickBooks so that we can get started. So the company file I'm using today, it's a sample company file called Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. You can easily access this file by going to Google, type in QuickBooks Online Test Drive, and then you'll follow some on-screen prompts to confirm you're not a robot, and then you'll be in. All right, so to get to the banking center from the left menu bar, you want to click on the transactions option and then bank transactions. So keep in mind that if you have not connected your bank or credit card accounts to QuickBooks, you want to be sure to do that first, then come back to this video. So for step-by-step instructions on connecting your bank and credit card accounts, you can actually refer to Chapter 3 of my book. It's called Customizing QuickBooks for Your Business. And in my latest book, it shows you step-by-step instructions on how to connect all of those accounts to QuickBooks. So after you have connected your accounts, you'll come to the Banking Transaction Center. And the first thing you'll notice are these, what I like to call tiles. So there'll be a tile for every account that you've connected. So for this particular company, we've connected a checking account, a savings account, and a MasterCard. And so the active tile, if you will, is always going to show in blue. And so right now, the active tile or active bank account is the checking account. And when I say active, that means that any information that's shown here on the For Review tab, as well as below, is related to the active account file. And so there are 25 transactions. If you can see this in the bottom, it says one of 25 items. So these are all the details of those items for this checking account. So this number means that these transactions are waiting for you to review them and add them to your books. So while a transaction is sitting in here, it is not recorded on your books. It is not impacting your books at all. Okay, and so I just wanted to show you real quick. If I click the savings tile, now that's the active tile and that's blue. And as you can see, MasterCard, same thing. So we'll go back to the checking account. The other thing that I wanted to show you is you may have more accounts than we have room for tiles here, right? So if that's the case and you have accounts that you can't see here, simply click the drop-down arrow that's located to the right of the first account, and then you can navigate all of your accounts and you can even reorder the accounts here. All right. So the first thing I want to explain is anytime any of your banking information changes, such as your user ID on how you access your online bank account, or maybe you've changed your password to your bank account, you're going to have to come into QuickBooks and make that change. If you don't, the transactions will no longer download into QuickBooks. The connection between your financial institution and QuickBooks will be lost until you update that information. So if you click this pencil right here, you can update that information, and you may even have to reconnect to get the transactions to download again if they have stopped, okay? You'll notice on each tile a bank balance and a in QuickBooks balance. So the bank balance is the balance per your financial statement, or excuse me, your financial institution, as of the last time it was updated. And so you'll see a notification about when the last time the account was updated in QuickBooks. That's the account balance per the bank. And then the account balance per what's in QuickBooks will be below that. And so the goal is to get these two to match. And the only way to do that is we've got to actually review all of these transactions that are pending posting in QuickBooks, okay? And so what you want to do is come down to the For Review tab, and you'll notice in the far right column, the action column, you'll see an add, you'll see match, you'll see view. So anything that says add, I guess the way I should explain this is QuickBooks will first try to see if you have a similar transaction already recorded. And if so, then you'll see the match option. Match means QuickBooks thinks it's found the same transaction that you've already recorded, so it doesn't want to record it again because it'll duplicate it. So instead, it just wants to match with what you've already recorded. Add means it couldn't find a match, and so it wants you to complete these fields so you can add it to your books. And so what I want to do actually is go to this A rental. So this A rental, that's actually a deposit. I want to go to an expense. So your expenses are going to be in the spent column, and then your received are going to be the deposits made to your account. So I'm going to go to this A rental that is an expense for $1,200. The first field that you definitely need to complete is the payee field for a vendor, right? If it's a deposit, then it'll be a customer. And so we want to go ahead and see if A rental is already set up in QuickBooks. Doesn't look like it is because it's saying, do you want to add A rental when I type it in? So I'm going to say yes. It'll open up the new vendor dialog box. You don't have to complete all of these details, just simply save it so that we've got A rental on the list now. The next thing you want to do, and this is actually a required field, you can see the asterisk here that indicates that, is you want to select the appropriate category or account, sometimes this is referred to, for this type of expense. So this appears to be equipment rental or some type of rental expense. And so I'm just going to simply type in this field, rental, to see what we've got on the list. So we've got an equipment rental account. I'm going to select that. If this particular transaction is related to a product or service, you would select that from the drop-down, but if not, you can leave it blank. If this particular expense is something you're going to bill a customer back for, then you definitely want to select the customer from the drop-down list and then select billable. If not, you can leave that blank and you can leave the billable box empty. tags is something that I discuss in chapter 2 of my book. It's just a way to further identify transactions. And then, of course, we've got the memo field if you'd like to add any additional information about the expense. So with that said, at a minimum, just to recap, definitely complete the vendor/customer field, the account field, product and service if applicable, customer field if applicable, okay? So once I've done that, I can simply select add. So QuickBooks will take just a couple seconds as it did right there. So now that $1,200 a rental item is no longer listed here. So instead of it being on the For Review tab, it is now on the Categorize tab right here. So everything that you end up categorizing and adding to QuickBooks, it will move to the Categorize tab. What you'll also notice is we started with 25 transactions to review, and now we've got 24. And so one of the things I want you to notice is a rental, these now automatically show the category as equipment rental. And what QuickBooks does is it remembers your selection. So because we chose equipment rental for that first transactions, it's assuming that's what we want to use for this vendor going forward. It would be correct. And so we're going to go ahead and say add that one. And then this one as well, a rental, equipment rental, we'll go ahead and say add. And so now I'll pop back over to the categorize tab so that you can see those 3 transactions are now here. Now we're down to 22 transactions, right? So that's how you want to handle any transaction that says add. You want to go in and add the necessary fields that are required to record the transaction. The next action that you will see here will we'll come back to view is match. And as I mentioned before, match means that QuickBooks thinks it's found the same transaction that's already recorded, but you need to verify it. And so you'll see this one match found. It'll tell you the type of transaction that it found, which is a deposit on November 6th for $868.15. And so if I click there, it's showing suggested match. And so this is the transaction that's recorded in QuickBooks. It's a deposit. And so this transaction that has come through QuickBooks, it says deposit as well because it's in the received column and it's November 6th, right? The same as this deposit date. Now, if you're not sure, you can click on the link for that transaction and it will take you directly to that transaction. For time's sake, I'm going to say, yep, that's absolutely a match. And then that item disappears. Click on the Categorize tab, and now you see that deposit is listed here as well. So you want to go through, match up all the transactions that make sense. One quick thing to note is there's a way to bulk add items to QuickBooks, but it'll only do it for the expenses. So let me give you an example. So here's an expense that it found a match for. So I'll put a check mark next to that one. And then you'll see this dialog box come up. So as I add expenses, let's say those 4 I'm good with. There's 4 items. I put check marks. Yep, accept all those. Boom. Those are added to QuickBooks just that fast. We're down to 17 items and they're all listed on the Categorize tab. It won't, unfortunately, at this point in time, allow you to bulk add deposits. And so if you'll notice that if I mark those 2 items, oh, wow. Actually, let me see something. Okay, awesome. I take that back. So that's something that is recent. In the past, when I tried to bulk add deposits, it wouldn't work. Or when I try to bulk add deposits and withdrawals at the same time, it wouldn't work. But it looks like that issue has been fixed. Yay! So you can see how quickly you can get through these transactions, right? Especially with the bulk add. I love that feature. All right, awesome. The other action that you'll see here is view. So typically when QuickBooks finds more than one item in QuickBooks that matches what's coming through on the bank side, it doesn't know which item to match it to. So it'll let you know, we found two items, we found three items or however many, and you need to review them. And so the two items that it found, one of them is an expense that was recorded for November 6th for $75 for Pam seats. Great. That looks good, right? Because what we're trying to record from the bank is November 6th. Yep, Pam seats. Yep, $75. So that looks like it could be the right one. But let's look at the other item that it found. So there's a bill payment that it found. The date's November 4th. Now the date isn't necessarily you know, it has to be 100%. Sometimes there's a timing difference, so don't just let that throw you. Check everything. $75, the amount's right, but it's for books by Bessie, and that is not what this transaction is we're recording. So we know that this first item is probably the actual match. QuickBooks already has it selected, so we will click match, and boom, there you go. So that's basically how you handle transactions that are in here. You want to go in and review these, and I recommend doing it on a weekly basis, especially if you have a ton of activity. If you wait a month or 2 months or 3 months, this can be pretty overwhelming. The other issue with waiting that long is you're not going to be able to reconcile your accounts until you've actually recorded all these transactions sitting in the banking center. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Um, the other thing that I wanted to cover, which is going to make this even faster, a faster process, is bank rules. So bank rules is located on this tab right here. I'm going to click here. A bank rule is basically telling QuickBooks how to categorize your recurring transactions. So a recurring transaction could be a monthly cell phone bill, right? Every month when the bill comes in, hey, QuickBooks just categorize this to cell phone expense, right? It's not something that is going to change. And so those are the types of expenses that you want to actually create bank rules for. So if I click go to rules, you basically just need to click on new rule, and you will walk through a setup of how to create a rule. So basically, you can call this whatever you want. The example I gave is monthly cell phone bill, and I'm just going to go a step further and say T-Mobile bill. And that way I know that's what this rule is for. You can tell QuickBooks if it's a money out transaction or a money in. It's money out in this situation. And then you can choose what accounts that the expense typically will be coming out of. I like to just say all because maybe some months I pay my bill out of my checking account, and then maybe other months I pay it with my credit card. Who knows? So I just want QuickBooks for every type of account. If it sees, this T-Mobile bill to record it, as cell phone expense regardless, right? The next thing that you want to do is set up the parameters. So you can say that the description has to include all or any of these conditions. So I'm going to say the description contains T-Mobile because typically T-Mobile is somewhere in the description. Okay. Down here, I want it to be definitely an expense because this is a payment I'm making. The category is where you're going to select what type of expense this is for. Mine's a cell phone bill. Let's see if we have a telephone. Yeah, so let's go with telephone for this example. It's not related to a product or service, but if it was, you could select that there. The payee is going to always be T-Mobile. And if T-Mobile is not set up, guess what? You can add it right here. So we'll add that. If it's related to a customer, you can select the customer it's related to. Down here, I want you to be real careful. It says automatically confirm transactions this rule applies to. What does that mean? That means that if this is on, green means on, QuickBooks is saying you don't need to review these transactions. You're telling QuickBooks by having that turn on that if this expense comes through on the bank fees we were just looking at, instead of throwing it there for you to review, it's just going to post it to your books. And for me, being the cautious accountant that I am, I would never recommend that to you. I think you should review everything. Eventually, if you get comfortable and you want QuickBooks to automatically post these things, you can always come back to the rule and change it, right? But one of the things you have to be careful about is it's automatically turned on. So if you don't turn it off, it's going to automatically post to your books. So I'm going to save that rule. And now if I had transactions that were sitting here from T-Mobile, it would automatically categorize those for me. This is a sample file, so we're not going to find that here, but I wanted to just share with you how it works. And so you're going to repeat these steps, meaning once I'm done with the checking account, there's no more transactions to review. I'm going to move on to the next account, which is my savings account, and then the credit card account. As I said, because it can be overwhelming, you really want to get in the habit of coming in here and reviewing these transactions weekly. It's going to take no time once you implement bank rules and once you also do the batch add, right? It's really, really quick and fast. I am currently working on a video right now that's going to show you how to reconcile all of your bank and credit card accounts step by step. So I'm going to quickly give you an overview of what to do for bank reconciliation, and then you will need to come check back, check our YouTube channel out periodically for new videos. And that's going to be the next one that I post. So if you click on the Reconcile tab, there is a short video to show you how to reconcile your accounts, and you can click Get Started. So a lot of people don't really know what reconciliation means. Reconciling simply means making sure that your bank account matches what's in QuickBooks, right? Bank statement matches what's in QuickBooks, and that's what you always want. And so that this formal process of coming in here to reconcile should be done sometime after you've received your bank statement for the month, right? Or your credit card statement for the month. And so you'll come here, you'll select the account from the drop down. So we've got my checking account selected. You will look at the statement that you're reconciling and confirm that the beginning balance matches this amount. This amount comes from the previous month, right? If you've never reconciled, the beginning balance is going to be zero initially. And then in this statement ending balance field, you're going to enter whatever the ending balance is on the current bank statement that you're reconciling, as well as what is that ending date for that bank statement, okay? Once you enter those pieces of information, you'll click Start Reconciling. And so the next few steps are actually going into the process of reconciling to make sure that everything's been recorded in QuickBooks that's on your statement. One thing that I will remind you of is if you have transactions listed on this bank transactions in here, if you have anything in here that's on the statement you're reconciling, you will be out of balance. You've got to have all of your transactions for that particular time frame posted in QuickBooks before you can actually complete this reconciliation process over here. Okay? So again, check or actually subscribe to the YouTube channel, and that way you will receive an alert when we have new videos. All right, so with that said, that is going to wrap up our session on reconciling uploaded bank and credit card transactions. Thank you so much for joining me today. There is a link below this video to purchase the latest version of Mastering QuickBooks. It's Mastering QuickBooks 2025. Make sure you connect with us on social media using these handles. And please be sure to leave a comment. I'd love to hear your feedback on this video. I'd love to hear suggestions on other topics that you'd like me to create a video for. Thank you so much and take care.